The movie opens with John, a man, making a phone call to his daughter Estella. He informs her that he has sent her a gift to the house and mentions that he is currently on one final mission. Estella expresses her disappointment, as John had previously promised her to leave this job. But he reassures her that this is indeed his last mission. Estella then asks about the whereabouts of Charlie, but John informs her that he is using a mobile phone for this call, and will call again from a landline to continue the conversation. The film progresses with John meeting Charlie, and together they embark on their mission. They encounter Rob, who meets Lift Air, and all four of them board a boat with Lyle. John and Charlie soon joined them. Steve, their sixth team member, is assigned as the supervisor of the operation. The team arrives at the location of their objective and takes positions, with John, Charlie, Lift Air, and Lyle on the ground floor and Steve on the floor above them. Lyle uses his skills to determine the exact coordinates of the safe they intend to steal. Their plan involves painting the ceiling beneath the safe to access it. Steve then places explosives above the safe while John places them below it. The bombs are detonated simultaneously, causing the safe to fall. In the meantime, Charlie makes a deal with an outside group to fend off the pursuit. That is expected to occur after the heist. Rob successfully leaves the scene with the safe, pursued by guards. However, the safe is actually hidden underwater, and John and Charlie, equipped with oxygen tanks, dive underwater to open it. With the help of the group Charlie made a deal with, Rob manages to escape with the gold, and the team retrieves it from the safe. Following their successful mission, the team takes off and ends up on a hilltop. They celebrate their victory by toasting and relishing in the success of their heist. And they share their dreams and future plans for their share of the loot. However, their celebration is cut short when another car suddenly blocks their path on the bridge. Steve, the leader of the opposing group, brandishes a gun and orders his men to steal the gold from the team. John attempts to escape from the car, but Steve stops him and threatens to hunt him down if he tries to run. John, undeterred, defiantly replies to Steve's threats, but Steve shoots him anyway. In the chaos, Rob tries to flee quickly but ends up falling into the water along with the others. Steve continues to shoot at them, but they are protected by their underwater oxygen devices. As Steve continues his attack, he eventually realizes that John's body is floating on the surface of the water. He stops shooting, and the remaining members of the team come out of the water. Charlie, overwhelmed by the loss of John, begins to cry and mourn his death. After a year of working with the police, Stella has honed her skills and can now unlock any safe in under 5 minutes. She goes back to work and finds Charlie waiting for her. She tells him right away that she doesn't want to see him again, especially since her father died. And she blames Charlie and his illegal activities for it. However, Charlie pleaded with her, revealing that he had found Steve, who had changed his name to Farazli, and had hidden the stolen gold in a secure safe. Charlie implores Stella to help him retrieve the gold, but she firmly tells him that she is not a thief and refuses to participate in any illegal activities. After returning home, Stella reflects on her father's memory and the necklace he gave her before he was killed. She then has a change of heart and calls Charlie, informing him that she has agreed to help him retrieve the stolen gold. The following day, Stella and Charlie meet up and drive to the location where the gang is assembled. Charlie introduces Stella to the members of the group, starting with Lyle, a computer expert who had his software project stolen from him by a classmate while he was asleep. Next, he introduces Left Air, an expert in explosives. Finally, he introduces Rob, who is renowned as the best car driver in Los Angeles. To carry out their plan, Charlie distributes fake identities to each of the members of the team, to help them blend in and avoid detection. The team puts their plan into action and begins their surveillance of Steve's house. They are aware of the dangers they face, including the armed security guards and the dogs. Rob attempts to scout out an escape route but finds it too crowded due to the heavy presence of signs and other obstacles. Steve notices Rob's movements and watches as he leaves his house and drives away with a bag in hand, heading to meet with a man named Evan. Evan acts as the intermediary in the sale of the gold bars, and Steve is eager to complete the transaction. However, when Evan only purchases 2 of the gold bars and agrees to buy the rest on Wednesday, Steve becomes annoyed. The group's plan to enter Steve's house involves pretending to be from the maintenance company. To do this, Rob and Lyle go to see a girl named Becky from the maintenance company. get to know her, make her trust them, and ultimately steal her keys by making a copy of them in a clay box. The next day, they steal the company's car, and Stella and Charlie drive it to Steve's house. Meanwhile, Left Air cuts the cables, and the group monitors the phones. When Steve realizes that the phones are dead, he informs the security guard, who contacts the company. The group had previously informed the guard that they would come on Thursday. But Charlie then calls and pretends to be from the company, saying that someone may be coming by later. Stella then enters the car, and the dogs come towards her, but Steve comes out and pushes them away. When Stella enters the house, her main objective is to locate the safe in order to capture its image with the camera hidden inside her shirt pin. However, Steve unexpectedly arrives and tries to convince her that there is nothing of interest in the house. Despite her attempts to carry out her mission, Steve directs her toward the TV. Meanwhile, Lift Air has started reconnecting the cables, which leads to the TV turning on. Steve continues to flirt with Stella and invites her to join him for dinner. Stella, following the plan set by Charlie, agrees to go with Steve. Then, Lyle was able to use the camera footage to determine the precise coordinates of the house, the location of the safe, and the nearest room to the exit point. Charlie's plan involves Rob taking the stolen gold and making a quick getaway with it. To ensure the car's speed and performance, they add iron to the vehicle to measure its capacity while carrying a load. They bring in a friend named Wrench, who is capable of removing several items from the car, making it lighter and easier to handle. After testing the car, they find it to be fast and capable of handling the load. To make the escape process easier, Lyle uses his skills to penetrate the traffic system and manipulate the signals. Steve visits Evan's place with the intention of selling 2 bars of gold. However, he overhears Evan mention that the gold is the same as the one that was stolen in Italy and is worth $35 million. This prompts Steve to engage in a physical altercation with Evan, in which he pulls out his gun and shoots Evan. Steve then takes the gold and the money and flees the scene. Charlie, on the other hand, meets with a person named Skinny Pete who is involved in the illegal sale of explosive materials. Charlie strikes a deal with Skinny Pete and agrees to pay $5,000 for the materials. He instructs Skinny Pete to get the materials ready and to expect a call from him later. Vance is seen questioning a young man, who appears to be scared, about the death of Evan. The young man tells Vance that a big man came up to him and asked about gold bars with an image of a ballet dancer on them. The young man explains that he had seen the gold bars and had informed his men about the encounter. The men then went to confront the large man, asking why he was asking about the gold bars and making threats towards him. As Charlie's gang proceeds with their mission, they reach Steve's house. But they encounter an unexpected event when they find out that Steve is throwing a party. This forces them to put a hold on their mission. However, Stella must go and meet with Steve, and agreed to meet Steve on a second date. Stella arrives at the restaurant and sits with Steve, but during their conversation, she mentions a quote that her father used to say, making Steve suspicious of her. As Stella tries to escape from Steve's grip, a bottle falls near them, and Charlie, Rob, and Lift Air appear. Steve releases her and sits with Charlie, but informs him that he has already sold all the gold bars except for the 2 he is currently holding. If they want to steal the gold, Steve will provoke Charlie until he becomes angry and physically strikes him, knocking him to the ground. After returning, Charlie's gang is uncertain about their next move. Until Lyle intercepts a conversation on wiretaps indicating that Steve has arranged for an armored car to transport the gold, and a bodyguard to the airport, along with a ticket to Mexico. Charlie decides they must steal the gold before Steve can escape with it. In the meantime, Skinny Pete tells Charlie that Vance, his men, and McShaw, an Evan relative, are looking for him because they think he killed Evan. Charlie and Left Air head to the subway station, where they plant bombs on the roof. Charlie then contacts Prince and requests another service. Lyle will be stationed at the metro station, equipped with his laptop, keeping a watchful eye over the entire operation and maintaining communication with the rest of the team. Meanwhile, Steve will be on his plane, keeping an eye on the car as it passes by. However, Rob and Lift Air are caught off guard when they discover that 3 cars have left Steve's house instead of just 1. Each of the cars will take a different route, making it difficult to track which one has the gold. Lyle calculates the speed of the cars and determines which one is carrying the gold. He instructs the team that car number 128 is the one with the precious metal. At the same time, Lyle informs Charlie that he must move quickly, as there are only 90 seconds left before the subway train arrives. Charlie acts promptly and drives fast, with the rest of the gang following closely behind. When they reach the subway station, they jump off the rails right in front of the train, and as soon as all three of them are in place, Lyle disconnects the electricity supply to the entire station. The team went to the location where they planted the bombs, and Lyle informed Rob about the countdown, until the cars arrived at their predetermined location. At that moment, Rob detonates the bombs, causing the car to fall on the subway track. Wrench quickly covers the hole with a large cover. When Steve sees the scene, he becomes outraged and orders two of his guards to go to the location immediately. The team releases gas on the drivers and opens the car. But they discover that Steve has changed the safe to a stronger, more difficult to open version. However, Estella persists in trying to open it, eventually succeeding. The team uses a long belt to quickly move the gold bars. At the same time, guards on motorcycles arrive at the metro station, and the team starts running away with the gold. The team finds the motorcycles chasing them, and they come under fire until they escape from the station. Rob wraps his car, Lift Air opens the door, knocks down a guard, and they run away. They soon find that Steve is pursuing them with a plane. Lyle manipulates the traffic lights to aid their escape. However, Charlie enters a garage and finds his way blocked by a large buggy. In front of him, he finds Steve blocking his exit. But Charlie drives at high speed, crashes into the plane, and manages to flee. And as the plane crashes to the ground, it becomes clear that it will never be able to fly again. In the chaos that ensues, Steve steals a car at gunpoint and sets off in pursuit of the rest of the team. Meanwhile, Rob, Stella, and Charlie get their cars into the garage and quickly lock Wrench in with their vehicles. Steve arrives and offers to pay Wrench $5,000 in exchange for seeing what's inside the cars. But after Wrench accepts the money, Charlie appears and points a gun at Steve. It soon becomes clear that they are surrounded by an armed gang, led by someone named Machov, who introduces himself and explains that Steve killed his cousin Evan. And that's how Charlie succeeded with his intelligence, returning their gold and handing over Steve to Machov's gang. Finally, the team comes together on a train and toasts to their victory, celebrating the successful completion of their heist. If you're a fan of thrilling heist movies, make sure to hit the subscribe button to stay updated on all our latest summaries.